Hey, I'm Booney Crawford, and thank you so much for being with us today for another episode of F.A.M.E Ministries and Media Productions in partnership with the Crawford Property Group and Catching Up with the Crawfords. Today, we're coming to you from the Dobyns-Bennett Stadium in Kingsport, Tennessee, and today we're interviewing Coach Graham Clark, and I know that you're going to enjoy hearing Coach Clark tell some old stories, so stay tuned for that. But first, let me just share with you that if you're interested in being a part of sponsoring one of our videos and having your advertisement on one of our videos, we would love to talk to you about that. You'll have a little commercial there with your logo also that will appear through the duration of the video and your contact information. So we'd love to have you sponsor one of our videos if you're interested in doing that. Also, before we get into our interview, F.A.M.E Ministries is a nonprofit organization, and if you would like to do a tax-deductible donation to F.A.M.E Ministries to keep us on the road and help us to continue to go out and reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, we would love to have you to be a part of our team. If you would be interested in doing that, the address for you to be able to send a check to is right there on your screen. You can also go to our website if you would rather do it through PayPal and do a credit card donation. That would be fine as well. So I want to tell you that I appreciate everyone who partners with us, and I love you with all my heart, and I thank you for supporting us. So now, without further ado, here's Coach Clark. Well, Coach, thanks so much for being with me today. It's been a while, and been wanting to do this for a long time, and finally we're making it happen.
Yeah, I thought it was a hoax the first time you sent me a message to do this. I said, who's wanting to do it's like a guy said to me one time, he said, I'd like to, if you want to write a book about your life story. I said, hey, my mother's already passed away. I said, my wife might buy a copy, that'd be it. But yeah, I thought it was a hoax the first time you caught a hold of me on this.
Yeah, and then I saw you down at the Harshbarger Hoedown and confirmed that it was for real.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Coach, it's always been said that if there's the number one influence on a student's life, it's always a coach. How do you handle that?
It was mine.
Yeah.
I had a great mother. I slept beside my brother. I never slept alone until I got married. And then everybody else that was great in my life, their first name was Coach. And it started when I was 6 years old. I had Eddie Durham as a coach from the time I was 6 till I was 12. Actually went on Eddie and Linda's honeymoon with him. He came to baseball practice and said, Clark, I'm not going to be here next week. I'm getting married and going on a honeymoon. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to watch the Braves play. I said, you're going to go to watch the Braves play and not take me? And he went, get 3 of your buddies. We'll put you in the room beside us. And I had great coaches coming up. I had Tom Cornire, Bill Clark at Rossi and Robinson, Coach Tom Pugh, Fred Walton, Johnny Whited. I played for not only good coaches, but good men.
Well, I think it's kind of an interesting name that you brought up, Mr. Durham, because I love that man. From the time I was in Pee Wees, I remember him, and it was like he just took care of you.
Yeah. I remember when I was 12 and I was pitching for him, and he said, Clark, that glove you got, you ought to have a better glove than what you've got on if you're going to pitch for me. He said, I've got one that's just been laying around. He pulls it out. It's brand new,
Yeah.
We went to state basketball tournaments together. I was an 8th grader. My next door neighbor, I was over at his house. He was a senior, and he said, I got a bus charter to go to the state championship games in Nashville, basketball. But if I don't find a chaperone, they won't take us. And I said, I can get you a chaperone. And he said, yeah, big boy, go ahead. I called Eddie. I said, Eddie, you want to go to state basketball tournament? He said, sure. He said, they let you and Kilgore go? I said, yep. He said, okay. So we got on the bus the next morning. They had overbooked. And they said, 2 of you sophomores are going to have to get off. And the guy said, hey, there's 2 8th graders on here. Eddie said, 8th graders leave, a chaperone leaves, boys. So we went through a string of 68 through 74, I think. Yeah, 74. We always went to the state basketball tournaments together. Saw some great players.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know everybody knows you as the football coach at Dobbins Bennett, but tell me about sports for you growing up. I mean, was it always football or was it something else?
To be honest, when I was young, I liked baseball better. I didn't get to play football as an 8-year-old because I had an asthma attack. I played as a 10-year-old. Then I couldn't play as an 11-year-old because I weighed too much. They were going to put me in a bigger division.
I can't imagine you being that big.
I was. Trust me, the Husky pant line was invented for me. I really loved baseball. Coached baseball 4 years and was fortunate enough to play football and baseball both here and at Emory and Henry. My sophomore year, I quit and threw the discus because we were practicing football 2 hours, spring practice, and then going to baseball for 2 hours. I'm like, man, this is for the birds. My junior year, I went to Coach White after the first game. I said, Coach, I really miss baseball. He said, well, come throw for me Monday. So he gave me a uniform. And then my senior year, I tore my knee up. Second football game of the year. Didn't get to do preseason stuff. But I ended up pitching and coaching first base. He had an assistant coach, but he said I stole science better.
Well, so you come up through and then you end up becoming the football coach here at Dobbins Bennett. And that's got to be, you know, like a pinnacle for high school coaches around here.
Dream job.
Yeah.
You know, I started off at Powell Valley. I went to Appalachian State. I had a glorious 6-month college coaching career, and we didn't do very well. And became the head coach at Chilhowie, and I would have been content to stay at Chilhowie the rest of my life. Some of the best kids you ever coached. I got up there. I said, guys, we're going to practice 2 days at 9 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. They said, nope, can't do that. I said, what do you mean? They said, that's farming hours. I said, okay, you tell me. We practice at 7 in the morning and 6 in the evening. I said, all right, who's going to call and get me up? And the little fullback, he said, I'll call you every morning. And he did. He'd call me every morning. I'd go across the street, get my neighbor's newspaper, read it before she woke up, wrap it back up and take it back.
You know, coaches have the best stories. You know, you sit around and you listen to the coaches who've been there for a while. I mean, they have the best stories. And you know, like Buck Van Huss and, you know, Coach McCrary, and then what's the guy at Happy Valley that coached?
Oh, Charlie Bayless.
Charlie Bayless, yeah.
I'm reading a book about Charlie right now.
Yeah. You know, those guys. I'll tell you a story about Buck. We were playing a summer league, and us and Fogel and Garber and Trambarger and all of us were all playing Granville Arnold. And, well, you know, coaches wasn't supposed to show up. It was summer league, and they weren't supposed to be there. Well, Buck was there. He come over to me and he said, now, Crawford, he said, I know you live inside the city. He said, you're supposed to be playing for me.
You know, I played basketball also in junior high. I got to DB, and Coach Van Huss told me I needed to quit football if I was going to play basketball. And so I said, no, I won't play basketball.
Well, I was kind of the same way almost, but up here in the dome, up on the wall, there's 2 of my uncles, Denver Crawford and Darrell Crawford. And Denver was an All-American team captain under General Nayland. And Darrell was All-American under Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech.
Darrell was the first SEC quarterback to throw 3 touchdown passes in a game.
That's right.
Denver, I student taught with out at Sullivan Central,
Yeah.
and we became very good friends. I helped them coach track. He worked with the shot putters. I worked with the discus throwers. Yeah, great guys.
Yeah, that always inspired me because I always wanted my picture on the wall because of them 2 guys. Well, I never made it. I mean, I was a 2-time All-Stater and honorable mention my sophomore year, but I still didn't make the wall. So
I had a great picture of Denver Crawford taking out 3 guys on 1 block.
Exactly.
Back in the old Stokely where the old coaches' offices were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me, how long were you here at DB as a
I was
head
here a
coach?
total of 36 years. I came as an assistant for 11 years, and then I was the head coach for 25. Coach Ted Wilson called me. We really didn't know each other. And he had just taken the job here, and he said, I don't have anybody I'm bringing with me. The coaches say you run the wishbone and run a split 4 defense. That's what I'm going to run. And I didn't tell him. He threw the ball 22 times in a season. We threw it 22 times in a game. But he asked me to come down and watch practice, spring practice, and I did. And we talked, and he said, well, I want to offer you a job coaching the quarterbacks and outside linebackers. And I kind of looked down, and he said, you wanted that offensive line, didn't you? I said, no, I want the whole offense. And he said, well, you're going to be the youngest guy. I said, Coach, I know more about the wishbone than anybody you got, I'm telling you. And yeah, I was a little cocky. But
you have to be as a coach.
So we go through the summer, and before the first meeting with the coaches, he says, all right, Graham's going to be our offensive coordinator. He'll talk to y'all every day about our offense. And what? You never told me that. But so I was offensive coordinator. I coached outside linebackers, coached the defensive backs a couple of years. The defensive backs was the only position on the field I had not coached. And when John Brooks went into full-time guidance, I asked Coach Wilson, I said, can I coach the secondary? And he said, yeah, I know you'll work at it. So that full circled, I'd coached every position. Of course, I only had one assistant coach at Joe Howie. You had to coach most of them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me how, out of 36 years of coaching, what were some of the biggest changes you saw from when you started to when you retired? What changed?
Well, you know, good things, a lot of safety rules, you know, only so many hours of contact, so many minutes of contact, actually.
What about attitudes of players?
You know what? I think adults' attitudes change more than the players' attitudes.
The parents in the stands?
You know, I mean, really, one of the best things I ever did, Booney, when I got the head coaching job at Dobyns-Bennett, I said, you know, I'm going to go to every player's house in the spring or summer. I'm going to talk to their parents. I would send out a letter. I'll be at your house at this time. One year I made 110 home visits. We got any problems ironed out. I've even got some stories on that. I can't even tell on the camera. But if they had issues with me from the past season, I said, okay, now, anything you need to say right now is the time. We had great young men at Dobyns-Bennett. I even had 2 young ladies play for me. And one of them came to me and said, I want to come out for football. And I said, Brittany, why? She said, well, my uncle played for you at Joe Howie, and he said it's the best experience of his life. I said, well, your mom and dad okay with this? She said, they're okay. I said, okay. We gave her a uniform, and she dressed upstairs here.
Wow.
And then the other was a kicker.
Yeah. Do you think that athletes today are looking, it just seems to me like that not many student athletes are going Division I anymore. They're like going to another school, then working their way into Division I. But do you think that a lot of athletes now are looking at like, well, I wonder what's going to give me the best opportunity to get an NIL deal? Or,
oh, I'm sure they are.
Or,
yeah, I'm sure they are. You know, it's Charlie Wiles, is defensive line coach at North Carolina State. He and I were talking not long ago, and I said something about no Division I AA offensive or defensive lineman getting drafted. And he said, well, you know the reason for that. And I said, well, I have a theory, and that is if they're very good at 1AA level, by the time they finish, they're playing Division I. You know, a young man that played at Science Hill went to Troy, went to Richmond. I'm wrong again. Went to ETSU, transferred, and then is now, I don't know, he turned down a UCLA, or I think he's at LSU. You know, they're pretty mobile. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of developing. I know there's a young man playing at Dobyns-Bennett right now that before transfer portal, I think he would have been a 1AA prospect. He'll probably have to go Division II, and then he might get a chance to move up. The high school athlete is the one that's getting overlooked now, unless you're a 3-star, 4-star, whatever star. And I've been told by a couple of high school coaches, not around here, but in bigger areas, that their guys won't even take a visit unless they get $15,000.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot different than making $22 a day substitute teaching whenever I was playing
Yeah.
on Wednesdays, because we didn't have classes at Emory on Wednesdays.
Well, the way recruiting happens nowadays is just completely different than like back in our day. And it's like we had this kid that was at the school that we were going to for our daughter in Florida. He ends up getting drafted by Missouri, or goes to Missouri, and gets drafted in the NFL. And this is just a little old bitty tiny Christian school. I don't know how these kids get recognition in those schools, but now they're going pro out of these private Christian schools.
Well, they're going to camps, they're going to combines. Coach Dan Brooks, retired coach from Clemson, told me the other day Jason Witten's son, 9th grader, just went to camp at Oklahoma and got his first offer. I asked him, I said, what was the earliest you ever offered anybody? He said, Emmett Smith. We offered him his junior year. They're getting offers in the 8th grade now.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get a date in the 8th grade.
Well, let's kind of change gears here a little bit. Well, let me just say I'm not a fan of the NIL and the transfer portal. I just think it's destroying college sports.
I think NIL, in my opinion, yeah, the players deserve to get paid something.
Yeah, I mean, that I
but
do.
Make it straight across the board.
Yeah.
Not a bidding war, not a recruiting tool. Make it straight across the board. If you're the starting left tackle, you're getting $30,000 maybe, and if you're the third team left tackle, you're getting $30,000. Now that was what Coach Saban advocated.
What was that? That kid from Texas was making more than the rookie quarterback in the pros.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, he was a Manning.
That helps.
And didn't even play.
But
what did you try to instill in your players, whether it was on the field or off the field? How did you, like that coach's influence, what was your goal for influencing your players?
I wanted our teams to play harder than anybody else. I wanted our guys to behave in class. If a teacher called me from the classroom and complained about Johnny not acting right, he was going to be running that afternoon. I wanted our guys to turn out to be good young men. Hopefully things that they saw us do, they would want to emulate. I wanted our guys to act first class off the field. I wanted them to be active in the community. And probably the greatest compliment I ever got as a coach, Craig Kisbeth, who was a longtime legendary coach at Jefferson County, told me one day, he said, I always tell our players, when you play Dobyns-Bennett, it will take you a quarter to get used to the speed and how hard they play. And, win, lose, or draw, that's what you want them to do. That's how you want them to live.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, Coach Piercy?
Oh, yeah.
Piercy? When I was in the 7th or 8th grade, he used to come by and pick us up, just a few of us guys, and he would take us to every game. Whether it was football, basketball, didn't matter. But he made us go watch DB play one time. He said, now I want you to watch these guys, how fast they get on and off the field. And I don't know if it was, I can't remember who it was, but I remember they had too many players on the field. And that defensive back, he took off, and I've never seen a kid that fast in my life, and he slid about 10 yards from inside the field off the field. So, yeah, they were fast. They would get down so low, and you guys did a great job coaching.
Well, thank you. Put in half-court press for Dave Piercy, his first coaching job at Westview.
Yeah, that's what I played with.
Jordan, and Wayne Kilgore.
Yeah.
And he won the conference championship.
Coach Piercy is probably my favorite coach that I've
Great
ever
guy.
had. Yeah, I love Coach Piercy. But, well, I've been fortunate to be associated with a lot of coaches around the area, from you to Coach McCrary to George Pitts at Science Hill, just all over the Tri-Cities. And I've never had one coach ever tell me that I was not welcome in their locker room. And I always appreciated you for that, for always allowing me, whether I win or not, I knew I could. And I appreciate you for doing that. And we always wanted to have some kind of a positive influence on student athletes. So I know that you're big in that, from wanting to influence them in a positive way. Because didn't you just do like an FCA breakfast or something here recently?
Bottom of the line. They hit the bottom of the line speaker, yes. I did FCA breakfast in Johnson City last Friday. In 97, I think it was, our principal came to me and said, y'all are praying after the game. I said, yes, we pray before it too. And he said, you can't do that. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. I said, well, we're not going to stop right here in the middle of the stream. We're not going to say game 7, we're not praying anymore.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, he called all the coaches together and he said, now look, no more prayer in the locker rooms. And so I went to him afterwards and I said, I don't like it, but I've got 2 choices, either do it or go find another job. And he said, well, you're not going to find another job if you quit over this. And I said, yes, sir, I'll always be able to find another job. But what we started doing then was having student-led devotionals. And you came and did some of those. Mm-hmm. And we would do it on Thursday after practice. And we could be there, we just couldn't take part.
Right.
And I think we had a lot of great ministries. You and a lot of others.
Well, I think it's important, because I'm a firm believer. I don't care if you're on the football field, me and you sitting here right now, we're all affected spiritually. It's going on right now around us. Mm-hmm. And, trying to get this equipment set up to do this interview, there's a part that says, I don't want this to happen because I know something good is going to come out of it. And my goal is I'm an athlete. I was born and raised in an athletic family. They were also musicians. They love sports. But I also knew that my firm foundation was my faith in God. And I was either in church or I was on a basketball court somewhere. That was my life. That's what I did. So I always want athletes that I'm around to know that there's a God that loves them, that's there to support them, to provide for them, and to direct them. And Coach, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that and for doing it for yourself, for influencing these kids that way.
Well, I grew up Baptist. I've been through 35 verses of Just As I Am, Lord, on the last day of revival, waiting for one lost sinner to walk up.
That's right. And you still sing in church and do that kind of stuff?
I do. Enjoy that. My wife is an amazing piano player, and we go some different places together and sing. And so, yeah, God's been good to me. He really has. I mean, I had the only job I ever wanted for 25 years. I had to work hard to get there. Life's been good.
Yeah. Well, if you had something that you wanted to share with someone who might be watching this video who's thinking about going into coaching, what advice would you give them? How would you direct them to say, if you'll do this, 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 and this, you'll have great success?
First of all, first thing you have to do is gain the respect of the young people you're working with. And to do that, you have to have a relationship with them. That's one of the reasons I went to their houses. They got to know that you're going to work hard, that you're going to ask everything of yourself that you ask of them. We never walked on the practice field. I never walked on the practice field. I'd get after our coaches' hind ends if they were lollygagging from one drill to another one. And, the biggest thing is building relationships with young people. And if that happens, they're going to play hard for you.
Yeah. Well, one last question. This is Kingsport, Dobbins Bennett. You were fortunate to be blessed to be the head coach here. But what do you want people from generations on, what do you want them to remember about Graham Clark?
That he gave his young people everything he could give them. Whether it was needing rides home. I had a young man walk up to me. I was at a funeral in Chilhowie. He said, I bet you don't remember me. I said, Julius Shazier, not only did I remember you, you owe me $10. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you came in, you had a date. You said you're just going to ride around because you didn't have no money, and I gave you $10. I said, you haven't paid me back yet. You know, I want the young people to know that, I just like to be remembered as a guy who gave everything he had and was blessed to play ball here at Dobyns-Bennett High School, to coach here at Dobyns-Bennett High School, and to be a part of so many young people's lives. And you know, I'll have them say, you made a difference for me. Well, they made a difference for me too.
Yeah. Well, Coach, God bless you. Thank you so much for all that you've done over the years with student athletes and, you know, just in my life. You know, it was probably not noticed, but I admire you and appreciate what you've done as a coach here at Dobyns-Bennett, and I wish you the very, very best.
Thank you very much. You look like you still shoot a jump shot.
We try every once in a while. God bless.
Okay, thank you, man.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of F.A.M.E Ministries and Media Productions. I want to encourage you, if you've not yet done so, please go over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, that like button on our videos, and also that little bell so that you can be notified when we have new videos. That helps us, not just so much that you get to see those videos, but it causes, the way the algorithm works for YouTube, it causes our videos to be able to come up on a lot more people's screens. So please go over there and subscribe to F.A.M.E Ministries over on YouTube. And also just continue to follow us on our social media pages, whether it's Facebook and F.A.M.E Ministries there, and my personal page at Booney Crawford, and also on Instagram and places like that. We're also newly subscribed over on Rumble. So if we ever get locked down from some page, we'll always be on Rumble. So go over and check out that page as well. So again, thank you so much for being here today. God bless you. If no one's told you they love you, I love you with all my heart, and I appreciate you. And so we'll see you next time on another episode of F.A.M.E Ministries and Media Productions. God bless. Take care. See you next time.